So Chavav, we continue. Debay bar Mariam Berea de Rabin ki havi nafzi kisna havi azla raska umazka anchi. So when they were pounding or processing the flax, then there would go the riska, which is like the psoilus of what they're getting rid of, and it would go damage people. So they are pounding the flax, and bits of the flax are going out and the mazikin people. Now again, I'm not sure exactly how the mazikin people are like a bit of flax in someone's face. It's like, my face, my beautiful face. Atu lekeme de Ravina, Amar lahu ki emrinen, Moide Rebbe Yusuf begir delay, honey mili de ka azle mikocho. So when we say giri delay, so he's saying that they're doing in their rishus, and since they're doing their rishus, they're allowed to do it because Rabbi Yossi says that they have to be marchik, but that's only comes with kocho. Hakazika, it's the wind that brings it, so therefore it's not kocho. So riska mash ma'irim in a pishtan. It's the psoilus from the pishtan. Whatever you're removing in the pishtan in the early stages, that's what will go into people's faces. So it's koichai is giri delay. That's seems to be Ravina's definition of the kochus, so they don't have to move. So says Maskala bar Ravashi, Mai Shanami Zoira Baruch Misayeo. What's the difference between the Zoira Baruch Misayeo? Ki Hechi, just like in the Indian Shabbos, have a kocho. The Indian Nizakin Nami Koicho Chashiv Lei. So Rashi's saying here that so this is a winnowing. Does everyone know what winnowing is? You throw after you crush the kernel of wheat inside the chaff, you crush it in dosh so it's not connected anymore. Now you throw them both up into the air, the heavy wheat kernel comes down and the chaff flies away. How is the chaff flying away? Because the wind takes it. And that is a av malacha in Shabbos in your chayav chatas or chayav misa or kares, whatever, from doing that. So that's all called a malacha in Shabbos, and therefore we see that even though the wind took it, we see that that's called a proper malacha and your chayav. So amura kamei de mereimar amar lohu hayinu zoreya v'ruch misayes. So they're saying here that it's that it's the same thing. That yes. Now again, this is not. It's not yes you're chayav to pay. It's yes you're chayav to be marchik. Because again, we're not paying here. It's just that there's a chayav to be marchik. Why don't you pay? Because it's a gramma be at the end of the day. This isn't adam amazik, and it's not your again a hilchos shchenim. It's not your shore that's doing the damage. It's not your mom that's doing it. So it's a gramma, so you don't pay, but since we're learning from Hilchos Shabbos that you have to be barchik. So Ravina, my shana migatzayu. So Ravina doesn't care, right? Ravina says, I don't care. It's not like Shabbos. And then we ask this question. We don't say my shana from winnowing. We say my shana migatzayotze mitachas a petish. So when you're hitting iron and then the bit of it gets hot and it flies out and it damages someone in the Rishus Rabbin, you're chayev. The hezek de chayev l'shalem. So Rashi Levina bishlei ma'azayra v'ruach misayeo lo havi lei pircha. So Ravina doesn't care about that. It's not a pircha. The kasavar mi moina mi iser Shabbos lo yalfina. We don't learn mamun from Iser Shabbos. The hasa malach is machshavas asher Torah. So the key, the Shabbos is different because that's malacha machshavas. So therefore, when you have the machshava, if you are trying to winnow, so therefore you're chayev Shabbos. But if you are playing and chicken stuff up in the air and who knows what's going to happen, I don't care. It's not machshavas. You have a machshava to do the malacha, so there you're not chayev there on Shabbos. So Smalach Machshevas Chayav Torah that we don't learn out of it. Kia Gavna Matartzin Le Laha Pircha Bava Kama. We say this in Bava Kama, but Koines Zon Ladir. So therefore, it's not a pircha. But here, this is Taka Hezek. Where this is Mamun. We see that gates Hayutz Mitachas Patish. That is Mamun. So we learn Mamun from Mamun. Now only this is a Kasha La Ravina. So why you chayiv l'shalem there and not here? Hasam nichalei the lezel hakalo nichalei the lezel. So there in the case of the gates, you want it out of your reshus so that it doesn't do damage in your reshus. You want it in the reshus harabim, so it hits someone there because you wanted it to go. Here you don't care. You're trying to fix the flax. You don't care where this stuff goes. Comes the wind, takes it and flies it into people's faces. So that's all according to Ravina. Who says you don't have to be merchik. We do have to be merchik, but you don't pay for the hezek. So the getz hayotze min a barzel comes out of the iron when the petish hits it, and your chayev v'harei hulchin haruach the wind brings it. Nichale delezel lechutz shelo yadlik es beito, because you want it to go out so it doesn't set fire to your workshop. So but here you keep it here and you don't care. Okay, so Toisves Zika. So hani mili de lo asli mikocho haka zika hu de kamatile. So zika, so rash kotoises, so kasha leri. De lichayv mi shomesh. So why is he potter? Because it's not his koicha. Afal piken, even though it's not his koicha, he should still be chayiv because of ish. Mili de have avnos akino masos. This is the sugya in Bava Kama that you leave them on the top of the gag, at the top of the roof, and they fell in the ruach mitzuya. So in a normal ruach, then your stone, so you brought a stone and you brought a knife. So, I mean, this is pretty dangerous stuff, right? You go to the, Empire State Building, and you bring a knife up with you, and you leave a knife, on the edge, or you put it in your lap. Obviously, it doesn't work like that there, because they have all the stones up and the fences up. You probably chuck it over. But you stand up, and then it falls off your lap, and then falls off the sides. You have a flying knife, like down 100 flights. So that's called your chayev because of eish. So you have an even, you have a sakin, you have a maso. A maso is your you have like some weight, some package, whatever that you leave in that you leave it in the top of the gag, and then it just falls in a ruach mitzuya. Okay, so you put it up there and it's sitting there. A ruach mitzuya comes and it blows it over. If you have a coin, at the top of the Empire State Building in a ruach mitzuya, and it also could be a ruach mitzuya up there. Is a very different ruach mitzuya down the bottom, and a little coin that's going to fall there is absolutely lethal. 100 floors below. So now we wrote so chaziku the chayiv mishamesh. So that's all in Bava Kama. Kada amar berakama de Bava Kama. The hacha de amati le beruach mitzuya, and here it's being carried by a ruach mitzuya, that the chaff of this the raska, the chaff of the flax, the pishtan is being carried by ruach mitzuya. Airi midaparachale meruach mizoyre v'ruach misayeya. So that we're asking the question on the raska from the case of Shabbos of winnowing. Winnowing is a ruach mitzuya. You don't need a ruach she'ina mitzuya for winnowing. The Airi beruach mitzuya kedemashim b'hakoines gavei liba v'lavtzo haruach. So here we have that when you blow, and then the wind blows as well. So you have a flame, and you blow into the flame, so you ignite the flame with your wind, and then a ruach mitzuya wind as well, or ruach in the mitzuya. Gates hayotze mitachas hapatish. And since we're asking from this gate, so again this gates is a bit of the iron as you're banging the iron, because the iron is a bit soft. Some iron gets very hot on the edge, and then as you're banging it, these bits of iron that's super hot just flies off. It's basically part of the iron that gets really hot under the banging, that flies off. Tahina baruch mitzuya de chayiv. So as it's flying out, it's a ruach mitzuya that takes out the gates, and you're chayiv because of eish. De gabe eish katani laba hakoines. If you see why you chayiv for gats, you're chayiv because of eish. So therefore, why are you not chayiv for riska for eish, just like you're chayiv for the gats because of eish? For oimer ri the lo dami le eish the ein chayiv mishum eish ela kasha asa adam asa eish. When are you chayiv for eish? You're chayiv for eish when you make the eish. Levado kedechtev amavirus a beira. So the posuk says amavirus a beira is that you set fire to the fire. So you did it. Adam did it. But lo siyu haruach. So you set fire by yourself. So the fire that's going is going through a ruach mitzuya, but the fire that starts because of you. You started the fire without the ruach mitzuya, and then the ruach mitzuya just carries the eish. אבל haka ein oise levado kol eker ela al yidei haruach. So the whole reason that this risk is going is because of the ruach mitzuyah. Man is just cleaning his pishtan, and the pishtan and the psulas of the pishtan will just fall to the floor without the eish. Comes the eish and does all the hezek. The ilav ruach lo have raska azla kol eker, because the raska will just stay where it is with the flax, and it doesn't do any damage. V'dami leliba v'libtur haruach to potter. So it's only where you liba and then the ruach goes and takes it that you're chayav, but when you do it along with it, you didn't have enough liba, you didn't have enough air when you were fanning the fire, you didn't have enough, and the ruach mitzuyah did it with you. There you're potter. V'hinu demishani ki parach b'samuch ma'ishanami gets. So it's like the answer that we have of the question later, the have a salka daicha, because in the havamina it was dami mamash legates. In the havamina you're saying that it's the same as gates. So in the havamina you're saying it's eish, just like gates is eish. So to raska is eish. Umeshani hasanicha le de lazo umiskaven lehakos b'koach. Over there with the gates, then you have a kavana that it goes out. You hit it with koach ad sheyetze hagatz, until you hit up the malleable part of the iron that goes out. Mirchachik below shum zika, and the banging makes it fly off without, and that's all Adam Amazik or the Adam's Aish, without the zika at all, without any wind whatsoever, and you're chayav because of Aish. Al masha goimer v'hoylech al yedei ruach mitzuyah. And there you're chayav for eish. So even though once the gates is out there, it can travel with the ruach mitzuyah. You still chayav for eish there, but that's because it's only goimer with the ruach mitzuyah. It wasn't created with the ruach mitzuyah. V'haka lo nichele de tezil. You don't want it to go at all. Kloimer ve'ena mikoach ve'ena maka b'koyach. You're not hitting the flax in order that the raska will fly off. Without the ruach, then it doesn't go at all. Even though, so now he's saying, again, we had the goyren that when if you're not allowed to put the goyren is a threshing floor. You're not allowed to put a threshing floor close because you're damaging people. It's one of the Mishnahs. So then you have to do a harchaka of your threshing floor. You need like 50 amos all around the threshing floor. So why are you not chayiv lecharkik? So anyway, you're potter from the hezek or whatever. But the guy who's doing this combing of the flax, he shouldn't be allowed. Just like by a granary, you're not allowed to do the threshing within 50 amos of a city or 50 amos of someone else's property, because that goes and it damages the furrows, and it damages all sorts of stuff with the hay everywhere. So too here, why are you not chayiv to be marchik? Why don't you have to distance your flax business from someone else's house? Just like the Gordon, meaning the chayiv laharkik, avagav the zika b'matilei. So by the threshing floor, the hay or whatever they're getting rid of from the wheat, that only flies because of the wind. So too, by the rest you should be marchik. V'ishloimer demat nisan karabanan v'hachi'ayra eliba de Rebbe Yossi. So that Mishnah there, which you have to be marchik. So there, that's going like the Rabbanan, because the Rabbanan say you have to be marchik, but it's rare because Rabbanan say that it's alamazik lacharkik. Therefore, since you're doing the raska. So if you're doing the stomping, you're doing the goyren, therefore you have to be marchik because you're doing the mazik. So the haka be here haka ari elibe Rebbe Yossi to lo machayev ele begiri delay. So therefore the whole point of what the Gemara is saying here is that it's not giri delay, and since it's not giri delay, so therefore Rebbe you're potter, because we're whole thing we're saying here is giri delay. I know you chayev and he says not giri delay, all that type of stuff. So here, so that Mishnah is going like Rabbanan, and therefore by the goyren you don't have to be marchik. Sorry, but the Gordon you do have to be marchik because that's the Rabbanan. But here we're going like Rebbe Yossi, and therefore it's you're only chayav for giri delay, and since it's not giri delay, it's the wind, and that's what the Sukkah is talking about: is it giri delay or not? So therefore you don't have to be marchik. So they say in the name of the Chazon Ish is that when Chazon Ish said, when did people stop learning Tosfos? When they stopped learning the Marsha. Now, the Marsha has come to our aid as he brings here. The Toisa shekatsu la'ayol b'shem rach to kulu hu mashinis aitin ke Rebbe Yossi v'lo pligi ele be'ilan. So now the idea that this Toisus is Soitzer or Hol Yusoid, and now we're in trouble, is now mechazek, because the Marsha also has this problem. And the Marsha is clearly learning. Here he says, B'Peh Male, that Toisus is learning, every Mish is going like Rebbe Yossi. So this is a big Pella. Marsha says this is a Pella, that he says like, so if we have, the traffic is going in our direction. We have friends on our side, and therefore the original idea is correct that Toisus is saying that every Mish is going like Rebbe Yossi, and for Toisus to say that's like the Rabbanan is bat nuts, because the Marsha now here he's saying the same thing that we're saying. He's saying it doesn't make any sense. He just said it was Rebbe Yossi. Hayinu lemar b'Ravashi v'la'ameimar. That's all according to Ravashi v'la'ameimar, who so happens halacha goes like, and this Ravina stuff is not like halacha. And all this is in Ravina. So Ravina doesn't hold by Barba Barashi and Amemor. And Ravina is saying that Mishnah is Rabbanan. But Ravashi of Ramemor, who's halacha, that is going through the whole sugya, they hold that it's all like Rabbi Yossi. Shalom al Yisrael. Especially if you're actually following the what's going on. I think we'll see. Tosis himself says halach is not like Ravina, but whatever. Halach is like Ravash. So that's this, but that he's saying here because he's going in the Shita, because he's trying to get in Ravina that you're chayav for Raska. Well, even according to Ravina, you should be marchik. So if you're marchik, so maybe he's holding that at Taka. Ravashi says you should be marchik. V'had porach migates v'lo matzi le'ukmei hahi de gates rabbanon. So why can't we say that over there is like rabbanon misham de lo pligi Rabbi Yosef rabbanon in chiyuv tashlomim elil in harchaka. So again, this did come up a couple of times. Our whole sugi we're talking about a maklokas about harchaka, but tashlomim everyone holds your potter even if you do the damage. But the gates is a sugya of in Bava Kama, so that's just stamamazek you're chayav for eish. And there, everyone's holding your chayav for Reish, your chayav for Nizik. So the whole machlokes between Rabbanan and Rabbi Yossi is in the in Harchaka, but Tashlomim they don't argue. So even though I can say over there the Harchaka is like Rabbanan, not like Rabbi Yossi, I can't say that by the gates, and therefore we continue. So ve'im tema my shana mi. Which is the weasel that jumps on the ladder. That the weasel brings itself to the shoivach. So the namia the weasel goes to the shoivach. Kamar Baravashi. Umihu hasa mishom dazimim debahadedenach. So again, this is how we had the Giri delay over there. Is that you're holding it. Sometimes when you're holding it itself, then it pops up while you're holding it. So therefore, that's the Giri delay. Kadamar Kvarna aisle. So, Bekitzer is saying that it's not like there you're chayev and here you're not. But there, because it's Giri delay, and here it's not Giri delay. So we have to make the Akimt over there anyway in the Mishnah that it's Giri delay. Avalkasha may Urvin from the ravens above. Because Rav Yosef says, Afiku li korkor mehaka. So Afiku is Yotzes. So take them out, there's korkor. So ravens go caw, caw. So I don't know what language kor is, but like I can't stand this noise. Get rid of this noise. So some guy had ravens. He's annoying Rav Yosef, and he's like, get rid of this noise. So what's the difference between that and this? The gramma lo savar lo ravina. The Gemara doesn't hold by Ravina. The Rabbeinu Tam poisek kamar baravashi. So over there, so that whole thing of Rav Yosef is going up according to halacha. So the Gemara doesn't hold of the Ravina, which is here, and Rav Yosef is poisek like Mar Ravashi, and like a Maimor. And further, says read the Bali Chaim shiny. So Bali Chaim is shiny, so that's the Oirev. The Oirev is the Bali Chaim. As opposed to here, we got the flax. The Chamiri Tefei, that there's more, you got to be more careful with Bali Chaim, Miruach. So there's more Chomer. The ravens are more Chomer than Ruach. The Kolach Achem Arov Behen, Kadamrim Bava Kamas. In a sense, that basically the flax and the pesolis of the flax, the raska, ain't going to do anything. If man is, I can put it in a bag and just stick it in a cupboard and they're not going to do anything. You can't like get a dog and stick him in the cupboard and then lock him up. That's not what a dog is. And these ravens, whatever it is, so these ravens have this ruach acher, so therefore they have more. They're harder to be shomer, and therefore when you have them, you have to take a more proactive shomer with them, and that's the taisus. So we ask on Ravina about the zoreya, about the winnowing. That's a chiyav chatas. Ravina lo chashev le pircha. So he doesn't hold it. So God never answered for Ravina. So pircha desaver ki heichi de lo garmin mishavas leinin tashlumim. Just like when you're chayev for chatas for Shabbos, or you did a malacha on Shabbos, it has nothing to do with tashlum. You don't have to pay. Kedem afarish Rabbi Yashi b'hakonis. This is all in the Kohen said. We don't learn out chiyav. There's a thing called gramma, bichayev on Shabbos for malachas makshevis, even if it's a gramma. But by tashlumim, you're not. The gabe Shabbos malachas makshevis oiser toira. Valchaka gramma hu v'gramma b'nezikin potter. So we don't learn from Shabbos for nezikin for tashlumim. Hachinami lor gamrinen mihasam sheyechayev laharkik. So too. He's not learning from Shabbos that you don't have to be marchik. Because we were saying, why is Ravina? Why don't you have to be marchik? We were not, Shabbos is chayev. So again, over there in the Gemara, we're learning that Rav Ashi is saying you have to be marchik. They both hold your potter to pay, but Rav Ashi is saying you have to be marchik. And Ravina says you don't have to be marchik. So Rav Ashi says we're going to learn from Shabbos to be marchik, and Ravina says we're not going to learn from Shabbos to be marchik. Just like we don't have tashlumim, so too we don't have harchaka. And Rav Ashi will say, no, we don't learn tashlumim, but we do learn harchaka. Remember, so that for a harchaka, because you see harchaka to consider its giri delay, gamrin and shapir. So we're learning from Shabbos as to what giri delay is or not. So since in Shabbos you're chayiv, that's megale that it's enough of a giri delay in order to be marchik, and that's the maklokas Rav Ashi and Ravina here. Kevin the gramas benezikin aser. So it's even though you're potter, it's still aser. And therefore, we learn from Shabbos that it's enough to be marchik, because if it's enough of an issur for Shabbos, it's enough here to be given delay to be also for Shabbos. So basically, Rav Ashi's learning that issur from Shabbos. For Ravina, my shanami gates. For imtema amai kamar for Ravina. Lameina mam nami tikshi. There's also kasha on amemar leinin chiyuv tashlumim. My shanami gates, because everyone's holding that you're potter from tashlumim. We're just saying that Rav Ashi says you have to be morachik, and Ravina says you don't have to be morachik. So why are we saying it's a kasha? So gates is chayiv for tashlumim. So why is there only a kasha on Ravina? It's also a kasha on Ravina, because everyone says you potter from tashlumim. Because it's not so clear that a memor attack is the kasha, the hachinami chayiv letitei b'tashlumim. Because it could be that a member could just say, yeah, taki, you are chayiv to pay. Just like you're chayiv for charchoka, you are taki chayiv to pay. It's in the Havamina, we could have said that. So therefore, you can't not going to ask on him, because he could have just answered, taki, you're chayiv to pay. Because we're learning, not only are we learning from just harchoka, we'd say it's completely the same. That the Zoyer Lemruch Mosiyaso is Taka your Chayiv, just like your Chayiv and Shabbos, your Chayiv Gamma here, you have to pay as well. That could be how he could push it off, and therefore we're not asking the question, because he could just say Taka your Chayiv to pay. So the Hart Tzvi is Rabbi Tzvi Pesach Frank in the late to early 20th century. Immigrated to Israel. Now, here's a shaila. I think the shailas teshuvas, I don't think anyone wrote to him. I think they were gathered together. Davar uvda to have a bris mila shechal b'Shabbos. So they had a bris mila on Shabbos. Nice. And they brought the tinuk through a goy. So the tinuk came to Shabbos with the goy to the Beis Knesses. And they stuck in beside the kid, beside the yeled, beside the boy, the Mila knife, Shel Mila. Kadei that the Nachri will bring it with the sakin, so the Nachri will bring the knife, will bring the baby to the Beis Knesset. And in the end, they found the sakin that fell in the Shus Rabim close to the opening of the shul, and the goy had already gone away. He'd gone to his own way. Okay, so therefore, no bris. You got the bris knife is in the Shus Rabim, they're in the Shus Yachid. Nothing to do, there's no eruv. V'hinei sham b'Beis Knesses nizdamar lehem makshiri magneti. V'hoyre lehem rav baloira. So there was a rabbi hanging around. Lehanichu al saf Beis Knesses, to put the magnet at the Beis Knesses. Again, this is 100 years ago. I mean, it's a pretty impressive magnet. I mean, how big is this magnet going to be? So that the magnet would bring it in for the Rabim into the Beis Knesses. So he says, yes, it's a gramma, and since it's a gramma b'Shabbos, it's mutter. Again, it's mutter. It's the gramma. The pashtus of a gramma is it's also it's also the Rabbanan, mutter deraisa, also the Rabbanan. Once it's an Issa Rabbanan, Ketzer, once it's a Sorach Mitzvah, blah blah blah. There's a term you can use in order to do it. So that's the opening. So now, here that was how he was. That was psak of the rabbi. And now the Hartzvi is saying it's the Choyer is Tuli b'Maklokas Magen Avraham and the Ebenezer. So Magen Avraham. So they have what is the grama on Shabbos? How do you define the grama? So when we have this Ruach Mitsuya. And we're comparing that groma to the raska. So what is this groma on Shabbos? So basically, what is the groma on Shabbos that you chayav for? Is the maklokas here, the Magen Avraham and the Ebenezer. Sheneklu bedin techinas barachayim shel mayim. So you have when you're grinding up in the mill of water. So the water is flowing down and moving the mill, and you put in the wheat. So you're not doing the grinding, so it's a groma. I have a melacha deraisa. Magen Avraham oimer de einze melacha techina. The deraisa einze ela goyim techina. It's only goyim the techila. So if you have a quick look at the Magen Avraham. So a fila nois in Israel l'rachayim b'Shabbos lekichiv chatus. So even if the Israel himself put the grain into the rachayim, it's not chiv chatus. You have to use the Rachaim Shol Yad is one that I did. I'm doing the motion of the milling. So but here it's a groma. So the groma, because the water is turning the mill. Since the water is turning the mill, I can even Israel. It's not a chiv chatos. So therefore, it's not an isur d'oraisa, says the Magen Avraham. So therefore, it have to be biyad. Anything has to be biyad. Anything that is not done biyad. Then there's no Chiyav Chatos according to the Magen Avraham. However, moving on to the Ebenezer, Chelek ala Magen Avraham, v'oimer de b'Shabbos akol tuli b'malakas machsheves. On Shabbos is all to do with the machlokas machsheves, v'ke'ein she'omru b'gemara b'malakas zoyra the haruach meseyasu. So even though here it's a groma really for the ruach meseyayu. Ubers the short dinim chutz mishabes ein ze ele groma ba'alma. V'rak legabi Shabbos mekevin denasas machshavto chayev. So by the ruach mitzvah, by winnowing, it's a groma for everything else. It's a groma, but on Shabbos, since when you chucked it up, that it kicked in there, that you chayev. From there, the mizeh raya gamla ilin techina barachayim shel mayim b'Shabbos. Even though it was done with the groma, because the mayim is doing the techina. I'm not doing the techina. I put the wheat in there, but the mayim is doing the techina. Not like the Magen Avraham. That's only it's a derabanan. So B'Kitzer, according to the Magen Avraham, it would be mutter to use the magnet, because you're doing.
It's gramma.
It's a gramma. You're doing. That's not the way. That's not the way that you do carrying. But according to the Ebenezer, so therefore, when you use the magnet, it will be your malach machsheves, your machshev to bring your machshava is to bring from a Rishus Yachid into Rishus Rabbim, and even if you do it in a gramma way, it doesn't help. So it goes through the rest of the teshuva, saying that he could prove in this way, and then actually he's proven the other way. So it gets it towards the end. Magnet to have a kamachnas be a dime. Rishus Rabbim Rishus Yachid is going with like the Ebenezer here in the Har Tzvi, but whoever the rabbi there was, he thought it was okay. We can see it in the Ebenezer that so it comes to doing mazik, we care about whether it's a bari chazek. Is it clear that you're going to do the mazik or not? Therefore, you put your behema on the standing grain of your friend, your chayiv, because for sure he's going to eat it. So you're potter. But when you zoyre, and then the ruach helps you, you're potter. So by nezikin, it's whether it's bari chazek or not. But Shabbos is all about melach maksheves. Al kain, this is the Ebenezer. Al kain bezoyre v'ruach masayis the machshava lebera leboirer mitoicha pesolis. When I say machshava, you see the nachsest machshava. Once your machshava is done, that is the malacha. Even though that the ruach is masayeh, your chayev. So even though it's a grama, you're chayev because your machshava was done. Daha nasi se malacha aliyato because the malacha was done. Because you bring the kash of behemto, your potter on Shabbos, but by nizikin your chayev. Al gavi mechuber, then kavanus machshavta al shum malacha rak. So you have no malacha to do when you put your cow there. So therefore, even if the behema eats it and he fills his belly, his machshava is not on a malacha, and therefore your potter. That's what he's making the thing. So the Ebenezer is saying that it's all about having your machshava done. So since you use the magnet, so your machshava will be done. So then he comes against the Magen Avraham Zemaraya letoichen Chaim b'Chaim shomayim b'Shabbos. Even though the Mayim is doing the techina, so it's a grama. Afol pikein aser litein chitin l'tocha Chaim in the Torah deraisa. So they hear in the Torah, even though the Magen Avraham says you're potter from achatus. The ha afilu benezike ki hagavnim b'zorek chayv l'kram. The have kazorek l'tocha eish kavachon b'Shabbos. So he's v'zeh lo k'Magen Avraham. So there's the Maklokas. So here's the Rav Chaim Hauser. Shuvas on electricity. He sent to me the letter that was written in the paper. So like in Yerichi, Beis Va'ad L'Chachamim, they seem to have said that the Hadlakas or electric on Yontiv is mutter. I think the Orach Shulchan says the same thing. That's only on Yontiv. And it's only the Ein Ze Moilid. And Saraf Lezel and Sifsha who groma, and then we were adding that it's a groma, but lo ala al das lahakal b'Shabbos v'gam b'din Yontov ein halacha kamoso. So even on Yontov it's not like him here, but he's saying that we have basically so the whole shaila is based on this idea. We're saying that the electricity should be mutter because it's a groma. So since the electricity is a groma. So so when you're pushing in the kaftor, the switch, and it's dummy in the Sanhedrin, you throw an arrow and the guy's got a shield and someone else comes and takes the shield. Even he himself comes and takes the shield, he's potter. So I don't know how, electricity, there's lots of videos on YouTube and stuff that you can see. I don't know really if it necessarily works like this, but this is how they were understanding it then anyway. So he kind of rejects all that, and he says, if the arrow is going to hit him to the Taurus, and then he removed the tris, that's giri delay, and then you'd be chayiv. So even in that case, there'd be cases, and in the electrical. It's miyad. V'zoyrem electri over miyad. So therefore, it's like V'harehu kamo bikta demaya. So bikta demaya is that you tie someone up like under a dam, and then you blow up the dam, and then the water of the dam kills the guy. So korach rishon is chayev, korach sheni your potter. So the first flow of that water is chayev, and now so that's just like here, because as soon as you do it, it happens immediately. So it's like even if it is a grama, you're still chayev for it. Being a beker din legabe grama b'Shabbos, right? When you're talking about grama b'Shabbos, you've got the maklokas. Das even ezer b'Orach Chaim b'sif b'noisin chitin tok Chaim shemayim chayev, and not like the Magen Avraham says. Everyone's like, what are you talking about, Magen Avraham? So he brings a raya from Tosfos in Shabbos. But Das even ezer the chayev, just like we said. So even lenezikin, it's a grama and potter in Shabbos malacha machshavas and your chayev for malacha machshavas. So now he kind of explains it all here. V'nira b'daitim demasha amru b'zayre v'ruch m'siyaiso malacha machshavas asra Torah. So what are we saying here? That when you are winnowing, that's what the malacha machshavas asra Torah. V'lo amru shezeh etzem hamalacha. What do we say? That is the malacha. So whatever is the malacha machshavas, and the malacha is done in that way. So that's the way. That's how the malacha is done. The only way that you do winnowing is by using a grama. And that's chashav malacha machshavas. Ve'al kain gam b'noisin chitim b'rachayim shomayim shezeh derech hatechina. So how do you do techina? You have the water doing it, even though it's a grama. That's how you do techina. Even though it's possible to do it in a non-grama manner. So that when the malach is done the way that's how it's done. So since it's the normal way to do it through a grama, that's a malacha machshavas on Shabbos, even though it is a grama, since that's the normal way to do it through a grama, even though it's possible to do it not through a grama, that's the malacha machshavas of Torah. V'lo dami lahab Shabbos b'goyrem kiboy, when you cause the kiboy, shehu ba b'mikra. So the way you do it, the way that you cause it, it's just a mikra. It's not the proper way to do it, because I remember in Lota said called the grama shari b'ki hagavna. So grama is mutter where you don't do it the proper way. And it's not machshav and malacha, but b'oifen. But the way that the malach is done is always through a grama. That's zeh malacha machshavas. That is a malacha machshavas. So here, so they buy electricity. Even if you want to say it's a grama, since that's how electricity works, therefore every time you do it, like, how do you do electricity? You flick the switch. That's a grama. Even if that's true, since the malacha is done through a grama, that's called malacha machshavas. You chayev deraisa for that. So therefore, the water is turning the rachayim. That's how you use the mill. That's how you do the techina. It's done through a grama way. Again, the malacha tamid alidei grama. So where is grama potter? Where you could do it in a grama way, and you could do it in a non-grama way. They're both like normal ways, or the normal ways to do it in a straight way, and you do it in a grama way. So therefore, be mutter. So let's say you have it with they have these halachic grama things, whatever they do. Let's say a grama light. And they have I think in Shari Tzedek they have lights that are there by a grama with the heter of Rav Auerbach, and Rav Auerbach himself Taka went to Shari Tzedek, and they said, you can use the lights here, it's your heter. He's like, no, I'm not going to use it, even though it's my heter, it's only b'di'evid, I'm well enough, whatever, I don't need to use it. So you're using the b'di'evid, but the grama there is the normal way to use a light, is the normal way to use electricity. Whatever they're doing with the grama lights, it doesn't work that way. You press the button and it doesn't work that way. So like I know someone who has those mobility scooters for Shabbos. So you turn on the motor, you press, accelerate, and nothing happens. It randomly happens. That's not the normal way how you drive a car, how you drive a mobility scooter. So therefore, that's a grama that's done, because that's not the normal way to do it. But the normal way, you flick a switch and the light goes on. So that's the normal way to use electricity. So therefore, even if you want to tie it to grama, it doesn't matter. Says Rav Chaim, because since that's the way you do it, then that's not called a grama. That's called malacha machshavas, and that's the Iker Den, and that's the Iker Chiyuv.